Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Smason, and welcome once again to NOLA Theater Talk. We are basically we're an every Monday kind of experience as best we can when we try to do what we can to talk about theater here in New Orleans. It is I would like to call it an erstwhile show from time to time because we used to be on Mondays and Fridays. Now we're on Mondays because theaters have opened up. So now on Fridays, I'm usually at a show and unable to be here to conduct these interviews and bring these guests into your homes. But guess what? Tonight we have one of those guests standing by, and I can see him now, which is a good thing because earlier we were having some bad internet connections. But again, NOLA Theater is seen, if you're not familiar with it, on the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group. We broadcast that. That's a private group. You have to petition to become a member, or on the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, not theatercriticism.com, which is a website devoted to reviews, which I founded some years ago, and also on a YouTube channel. So if you are a member of YouTube and you can see things on YouTube, you don't have to be on Facebook. You can see everything there live stream. Tonight, we are very, very fortunate. We have a playwright with us. It's not often we have a playwright, but we wouldn't be able to enjoy any plays, any musicals, or anything on stage if it weren't for playwrights. And this particular playwright, I'm proud to say, has a New Orleans connection. And Sam Meyer, welcome to the show. You can see in the upper right-hand corner there of the screen, we have a little figure there. I guess that represents Elektra and an absolute bottle there. So she is absolutely Elektra, I guess you might say. But in any event, Sam, tell us a little bit about, first off, your background.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here. I'm a playwright, and I was born and raised in Houston, not far from New Orleans. But my dad's from New Orleans, and I've spent a lot of time in New Orleans because his family's still there. And so I have a lot of connection to New Orleans. And I grew up going to New Orleans all the time, going fishing down in Port Sulphur, just spending a lot of time in Southern Louisiana. And I started playwriting seriously when I went to college and when I went to undergrad. And then when I left undergrad, I moved back to Houston and got a graduate degree at University of Texas at Austin as a playwright. And I've just been sort of writing for the theater ever since.
And again, you glossed over it a little bit, but for those of us who are from New Orleans, we know your grandfather was one of the most noted impressive advertising agency people. He was what John Hamm was to Mad Men, right? To New Orleans, because Peter was in charge of a huge nationally recognized advertising agency. So when you say you had family here, I mean, it was a pretty well established family, even though your grandfather came to New Orleans sort of, I guess you might say, late in the game. He didn't come with the first wave or the second wave or maybe even the third or fourth wave of people coming in, right?
My grandfather came to New Orleans in 1937.
Right.
He was born in Germany, and his family fled the Nazis. And so he came at the very end of the window people had to get out. And so when he came to New Orleans, though, it's almost like it seems to have been where he was meant to be from. And to know him and to meet him, he came and he was like a 7-year-old kid, but to know him at all was to know that he was a New Orleanian through and through. I mean, he lived and breathed New Orleans. And every memory that he ever shared with me was one of growing up in New Orleans, his love of food, his love of jokes, chatting. I mean, he would just sit outside his office on Camp Street for years and years and years, just chatting with people. Right. So the gift of gab, in some ways, that makes me, I think, a playwright, I can trace back to him in a lot of ways. And his love of words, his love of chatting, his love of people. I mean, when you think about what playwriting is, it's listening to people and trying to understand why and who they are. And I think if you spend as much time as he does connecting with people and chatting with them, that's a similar muscle being flexed.
So now, Intramural Theater is the group that's putting on your play, and the play again for those you who do not know, it's the Cuck, right?
The Cuck, yeah.
Okay, so again, it's a take off, if you will, or an update on Sophocles's Elektra. And
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
there are many of us who may have been exposed to Greek tragedy, in our earlier years, and who probably don't see much of it nowadays. So I guess I'm gonna ask you, what was it about Elektra that I guess made you say, maybe we should investigate her reasons and why she did what she did, etc. Because it is a pretty horrific tale, one in which it sort of goes against the grain of much of what we stand for in our family units and in terms of humanity, etc. So I want to go into all the gory details, but Elektra did something that was sort of not particularly maternal. Let's put it that way.
I mean, one of the things I love so much about the Greek tradition of theater is how much of it is a part of our life today, whether or not we know that it comes from Sophocles, Euripides, Aeschylus, etc. The Oedipus complex, the Elektra complex, these things come from Greek tragedy. And the modern theater that we know and love is born in the Greek amphitheater. And so I think there's something about the psychology of these characters that, while it might seem, horrific or something, they are absolutely foundational to how we relate to the world now. I mean, I think modern psychology is built on the Greeks and on this tradition. So I love Elektra because when I first read this play, I thought Elektra, I just couldn't believe that we had a main character in this ancient tradition of theater who was so absolutely annoying and who was so such a whiner and so obsessed with status and class. And my first read of Elektra was that she is someone who is so upset about being losing class and becoming someone of a lower class that she decides that she kills her mother over it. And I felt that there was something incredibly interesting about this character who is celebrated as one of the great tragic heroines in the dramatic tradition, who's actually kind of just pissed off that she was rich and now she's poor. And the play is obviously about, a lot of things. I mean, Sophocles certainly wrote a play that's so deep and complex. But the lens that I was interested in was this character who felt like what was taken from her was her birthright, and what that actually comes down to was the right that she has to rule the country. And I saw this as, I think, incredibly relevant to the world we live in now, and in which there is a clear ruling class and everyone who is below them. And there is a sense that if you work, this American idea of American exceptionalism and hustle culture, and if you work really hard, you can become a ruler. And Elektra, as a character, seemed to embody the dark side of that, of this dream that some people are born to rule and some people are not.
So in terms of what you're doing by examining, her motivations, etc., there are also elements too of the Greek tragedies that we talk about, and that is the chorus, and that's an important part of what you're doing with this work too. But that you actually have a chorus which does comments on the actions of the principals, correct? And so I wanted to kind of get an idea about what you envisioned for doing that. What was your purpose?
One of the things that I've done in this adaptation of Elektra, which I hope people will really enjoy, is all of the stuff I love about Elektra, what I've really done is I haven't touched almost any of the plot. I mean, the plot in the Cuck is the plot of Elektra as Sophocles wrote it. And what I've updated is the language. And so I've tried to make Elektra and Orestes and the chorus and Clytemnestra, all these characters who are canonical, kind of sound like people that I know and people that we see on social media and who we just encounter, young people in our sort of orbit, and the ways in which these people speak, the way I speak and which I love, is it's in this vernacular that is completely, it is at once like very detached from reality and very presentational and very performative, while at the same time being very funny and being very incisive. And so I've tried to create a show in which people speak the way we speak, young people speak now, but at the same time, not changing the plot at all. So the chorus is a perfect example of that, because the chorus,
and that was the chorus I was showing them right there, right?
Yeah, that's the three actresses play the chorus, and then Elektra in the middle. And the chorus in this play, the chorus in Greek tragedy were meant to sit outside of the play and comment on the play and give the moral of the play. And right. In this play, the chorus, this function they serve is to be representative of the life Elektra led. So in some ways, the chorus is like, and this is like such a lame analogy, but it's like chorus is like Twitter, or a chorus is like your friends on Facebook, or chorus is like this feeling of FOMO, which is like is an acronym that means fear of missing out. And I think what the chorus represent in this play is that sense of FOMO. So that sense of like Elektra is aware that there is a life that she should be living that she doesn't get to live. The chorus comes in and represents that.
So when you say that Elektra talks more or less like using maybe perhaps the vernacular of today, I mean, would you say that Elektra would say things like, you know, talk to the hand or whatever, or something like that, or am I being a little too trite about it?
I mean, Elektra speaks in the way in which I engage with social media and in which I engage with being online.
Okay.
And so, yeah, she speaks in a kind of, and all the characters in this play speak in as if they're trapped in between the story that the playwright is asking them to tell, which is Elektra, as written in the Greek tradition. They're trapped between having to tell this story and also live inside a body that is very 2022.
Okay. I want to remind everybody that might be watching tonight that we would certainly welcome comments, that we will certainly post them as we see them. But if you know Sam, don't know Sam, know about any of his plays, because there was another play that Intramural did, I think, not too long ago, that we'll talk about maybe briefly a little bit later. But right now we are indeed talking about the Cuck, which will be presented starting on Wednesday by Intramural Theater, and it's going to be played at the Treehouse, which is on it's in Gentilly. It's on Feliciana, is that right, street? I believe that's
correct.
So for those of you who have never been, this is a new venue, and we need to put that address up. I'm going to get that posted in just a little bit, but before we go any further, I did want to. I noticed you were drinking something. I want to let everybody know I brought in a little 101 Wild Turkey tonight because it was one of those nights.
Ooh, it is.
So and again, I've got it in a nice square glass. I love the way that they have different glasses. But I definitely got this thinking about how sort of out of the box things were. I wanted to just sort of talk a little bit about what you're doing, and I just basically didn't have the chance to talk with you earlier about it. But what did you bring in? I know you had been drinking something in there.
I'm drinking a Lone Star beer, and it is one of my favorite beers. And in drinking is a huge part of the Cuck, first of all. So the Cuck is about partiers. It's about going to party. It's about clubs, party going. It's about doing shots. It's about Elektra. One of the things Elektra feels like she's left behind is the feeling of being a part of nightlife. And what I'm drinking is a Lone Star beer. It is the national beer of Texas. What I love about it is that it is one step above a Bud Light. It is cheap. It is light. You can drink it. It's a quantity, not quality beer. And that is something that I think Elektra and everyone else who spends long nights out at the club would really value. A drink you can spend all night drinking.
So here's the question. If you were given a choice to figure out what she's drinking, Would she be drinking Absolute, or would she be drinking Taka?
Okay, yeah. So when she was in high school, maybe she would have drunk Taka, but she and her friend group are of the class that they're drinking Absolute, they're drinking Stoli,
Gotcha.
they're getting bottle service at the club. These are not, frat girls anymore.
So I was earlier that if anybody wants to make a comment, that they should go to facebook.com/StreamYard, and that will allow their Facebook profile to be utilized on the process, the platform we're using tonight, and which I've been using for the last 2 years. And basically, if you're posting something while you're seeing it, it'll show up, but it will only show up as Facebook user unless you go through that extra step of going to facebook.com/StreamYard. And again, I appreciate everybody doing that. At about 8:30, we're going to change horses in midstream. We're going to move away from Intramural Theater and the Cuck with Sam Meyer, who we were here. We're going to be inviting members of the New Orleans Shakespeare Festival to come on board and talk a little bit about As You Like It, which is being presented. So if you're interested in finding out about Shakespeare, stick around. We'll have that. But for right now, we're talking about Sophocles, or an updated version of Sophocles. And that, of course, dealing with the Cuck. And if I may ask, Sam, Intramural Theater and you, how did you all meet up? What was the that you actually became known to them, or they to you?
Yeah, Bennett Kirshner, who is directing the Cuck and who is one of the main members of Intramural Theater, and I know each other from before he moved to New Orleans. And we had always admired each other's work a lot. We've been friends for a long time. And when he moved to New Orleans, he started making theater for many years. But in 2017, after he'd been here for a while, he asked me if I had any plays that I was working on, and I sent him a play that he then produced with Intramural at the Burgundy Picture House in the Marigny in 2017, called Chet Summer Vacation.
Right.
And it's a play about a teenager who falls in love with his air conditioning unit. And it felt to me like, I'm from Houston. I spent a lot of time in New Orleans, and it felt like a very southern love story. To be in love. You have a window unit right behind you. Yeah.
Well, that's correct. If I don't get my unit to show up, you can see it, right behind me there. If I don't have it working for me, I'm not a happy camper. And I'm sure
exactly.
Jeff, as the same way, would not be a happy camper. I mentioned this to you earlier, that it's not a far stretch when we talk about animating appliances. If anybody saw Carolina Change, they know exactly what we're talking about, where they've got the washer and the dryer and the video all animated, and that they come to life. So this particular play, though, does the air conditioner have a lot of lines, or is it mostly Jeff talking to it? Is it sort of a one-sided conversation?
There's a lot of lines. No, the character, it is a true love story. So the main character, Chet, and the air conditioner, they fall in love, but it's a sort of psychosexual comedy, I would say. So the air conditioner is a bit of a sort of sexual deviant, if you will. He's kind of a pervy, kinky guy, and the play is both about learning to. It's a coming out story at the end of the day. It's about realizing that if you live in the South, if you live in areas, you need AC, and you have to accept the things in which you need to accept help. You need to accept other people in your life. You need to feel love. And so the play is about coming to terms with who you are and all the weaknesses that you think you have in yourself. But it's a comedy. And The Cuck is also a comedy in the same way, in that it's a little dark, but very funny, and about kind of like how it's a little twisted to be human.
So can you tell me a little bit about, I got a couple of production pictures. Can you tell me, do you know any of the people in this particular shot as to who's who? Because I think you may be familiar with some of them. I know I talked to Bennett about some of them.
Yeah, so the front on the far left in the foreground, that's Elektra. And next to her in the foreground are the three chorus members. And behind her is her servant, Ratty. And in her, so her servants are behind her. And so in this scene, what I believe is happening is Orestes, Elektra's brother, has returned home, and Orestes and Elektra are going to plan revenge against their mother, who has stolen from them their birthright. And they're about to meet up and plan the demise of their mother. And the chorus and Elektra are they're being sort of snotty and glib, and they're making fun of Orestes. And in this scene, Elektra
and Ratty, right? You said that that
yeah,
would be
Ratty's her servant, and Elektra here is pontificating about. And if you'd like, I mean, I can read. I have the script open in front of you. I can read you a little bit of Elektra's speech if you'd like.
Is it that particular scene, or is it a different scene?
I believe it is this particular scene. She is being comforted by Ratty, and she's talking to Orestes, who is, I think, just off frame. And Orestes is about to go and kill Clytemnestra's new husband.
So I will pretend to be Orestes, and you be the narrator.
Great. I'll be Elektra in this moment. And so Elektra says, she says, "Look, bro, if the opportunity comes to kill Aegisthus, then you have to take it for our dad. You got to swear to it. It's time to be a man, Orestes. This whole world is limp. Nobody is playing to win. Everyone's playing some dumb game. And you're not like that. You're not nice, and you're not polite. You're my brother, and you have to kill Aegisthus. Do you hear me? And if Aegisthus, if he comes for you, then you have to come for him right back, and harder. And trust me, I'll do the same. Because if you die, believe me, I'll die too. We're family. Aegisthus took what was ours. You and I, Orestes, we're royalty. Thousands of people died so that we could be royal. And I'd kill thousands more to keep it that way. And so will you. Now let's do a shot."
Absolutely. Let's do a shot. So I guess, this is it's actually going through the final dress rehearsals, etc. tonight, tomorrow, and then it opens on Wednesday. And I was just trying to get the address for the treehouse, so I could add that to our banners.
It's 2563 Feliciana Street.
Right. So now, if somebody's looking for this, if they're in New Orleans in Gentilly, it's not too far away from, I guess you might say, like Gentilly Terrace, that area, right?
Yeah. It's just off Florida Ave. Just off Florida.
Okay. 2563 Feliciana Street. That's in New Orleans. And again, it's noted as the treehouse. And again, I'm not quite sure why they call it that. Does it have anything to do with it being in the tree, or is it just it looks like
it's a huge outdoor venue, and that is, I think, around a large tree.
Okay. So
it's
there
a
it is.
Concert space, an event space, and they're hosting more and more theater, and we're really excited to be one of the first plays to do a show there.
Okay, cool. So again, a new venue. I'm always interested in seeing new venues. This is an outdoor venue. Now, in the event of inclement weather, you will have a rain date, correct? Which is, I think, the end of the month.
27th. Yeah, it's the 27th. There'll be a rain date, and the show doesn't start until 8:30 every night to give the sun time to set and time for everyone to cool off.
Now, tell me again. I believe Wednesday is a pay what you can industry night type of thing.
Wednesdays pay what you can.
Suggested or thereabouts.
Yeah, but it's $15 is suggested, but it's pay what you can. And every night there is a suggested price. No one will be turned away for lack of funds at all.
I think yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. So Wednesdays pay what you can, but every night no one will be turned away for lack of funds. So whatever you can pay, if you come any night, you can pay that. You're encouraged to pay a minimum of $20 to offset the cost of the production. But the show is, no one will ever be turned away from an intramural show for not being able to afford the ticket price. So come on down and see the show. Pay whatever you can, and come and enjoy this crazy, dumb, ridiculous play that I wrote.
You're going to be here for the first weekend, right? And then the rest of the weeks that they're performing, you may be elsewhere, back in Texas, hopefully. What if I may ask, if we have a couple minutes before we bring in the people from Shakespeare, what's on your horizons right now? What is it you're planning on doing after these particular performances? With is this play going to have more life later, or are you going to work on something new and different?
Well, I'm hoping this play will have legs beyond this. But this summer, I am working on another project that's called Pool Boy 00, and this is a live streamed reality show about my life. It's a piece of meta theater that I started in 2020 during the real height of lockdown. And it was a reality show about my life in which nothing was made up, starring everybody in my life. And I did it on Twitch for 2 years. And so this summer, I'm going to be doing some in-person performances at galleries in Austin. And I'm going to be developing it through an organization in New York City called the Orchard Project. So I have a couple of developmental and gallery shows this summer for another project of mine. And hopefully the Cuck will continue to live beyond the intramural production.
And again, you said you've done this for a couple of years. That it's been a live stream type of a show that people watched, or on the internet?
It's been a live stream show that people watch. Yes, it was on Twitch, which is another streaming platform. And the show was separated into 2 seasons, season 1 and season 2. It was modeled after like a Bravo type Real Housewives show, reality show. And during the show, I would do things like have conversations with my boyfriend about whether or not we should be monogamous. I tried to quit smoking. I tried to have fights with my friends. I talked to my mom. My mom was on the show. And so I tried to use the show, the live stream show, to show how performative my life is, and try and force myself into having really kind of intense and cool conversations with people in my life. If you frame it as art, what changes? And I think a lot of this has kind of come into the Cuck, if I'm being honest. The show in the Cuck is really, the way I described it to Bennett, is it's a cast of people who think and act like they're on a reality show, but there are no cameras there.
I guess I'm going to ask a question. It's not really meant to be, playful or anything, but given the fact that Elektra is a woman, was there a reason you weren't drawn to Oedipus? As a male dealing with mother issues, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Oedipus, the themes of Oedipus to me were not as interesting as the themes of Elektra for an immediate adaptation, because I was interested in the class of people who are influencers.
I got you.
And who consider that, I think of that as a class. And so I was interested in that more so than like me working out shit with my mom, because I have a good relationship with her. I love my mom. But
remember, Oedipus ends up killing off his father, who was a king. So there's a little bit of class struggle there too.
Anyway, you can't watch a Greek play without a little bit of violence.
Right. Well, look, I want to thank you, so much. Sam, you give us only a little bit of what you're about. But again, we want everybody to know Sam Mayer is going to be in town when the show is being presented. The Cuck is being presented at the Treehouse, again, one more, which is located at 2563 Feliciana Street in New Orleans. Just Google that and you'll figure out where the address is. And again, I want to thank you for being our guest tonight. We have our people coming in from Shakespeare right now. So again,
I'll be there Friday, Saturday. So come say hi. And
hopefully people will recognize you and say, I saw you on NOLA Theater Talk. Thank you for being with us, Sam, and have a good night. We hope that this is a success for you, and that who knows, maybe later on we'll get to see another one of your plays, and Intramural will be doing that for the 3rd time, one of your presentations. Thank you so much.
I'll see you down at the theater. Thanks for having me.
Take care. All right, and again, as he departs, we will move over and look a little bit at the Bard himself. As you can see, there is Shakespeare now in our area there where we have our logos. We're going to be bringing in our 2 members of the New Orleans Shakespeare Festival in just a second. And for those of you who are familiar with the logo, I wanted to change that up because there it is. The fact of the matter is that the New Orleans Shakespeare Festival, which last year was presenting a very, very interesting and updated version of the Comedy of Errors with the team of Torrey Hayward and John Green, unfortunately, were struck by COVID. And this wonderful production that was set in South Beach. Those of you who got a chance to see it before the shutdown was caused by an infection here or there, whatever. The fact of the matter is, Torrey and John, who many of you may recognize as being part of the Radical Buffoons, Torrey and John are co-directing a new production for the New Orleans Shakespeare Festival. And of course, it's going to be As You Like It. So we're going to bring in Torrey first. And again, Torrey, welcome to the show. We hope that you're glad to be here again. And I know I have one of your actors is going to be coming in and just, and I can say for a fact that she is a unique actor. So we'll leave that. We'll explain that in just a little bit. But again, let me just go and see if I can add a couple of new banners because I had Sam in and I wasn't able to get everything done in advance like I wanted to. But for those of you who are going to be making any comments or whatever, keep that in mind that we are going to be asking you to let us know who you are by going to that site there, facebook.com/StreamYard. And Torrey, I again, this is 2 years in a row that you're actually able to do a production for the New Orleans Shakespeare Festival. And again, I apologize again, not my fault last year that you weren't able to do the whole thing, but I felt so blessed to have been there for opening night. And when it got shut down, I said, oh, that's such a shame because you all really have put your heart and soul into this project. And it really, tore me up to see y'all have to shut down. But, such was the life during the lockdown period. Look at the Layman trilogy that just won the Tony Award this past, Sunday night, last night. They started up, they were on their fourth preview, and there was 517 days between the fourth preview and the next preview night. So, everything goes crazy. But again, New Orleans Shakespeare Festival, you're in the middle of your first production, and again, they're going to be actually doing 2 more shows. One is a NOLA project, By Any Scenes Necessary, if I'm not mistaken, which is sort of an improv type thing. And then they're going to do what is it Richard III or Henry IV? I'm trying to remember. It's one of the kings. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the history plays.
So and it's part 1. So I guess it's Henry IV part 1, right? Is that right?
Yeah. That's right.
Because Richard doesn't have a part 1 or part 2, so it's Henry IV part 1.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting pairing with As You Like It.
So tell Torrey, please tell me now. I know John wasn't able to make it tonight, but you all, how do you co-direct? When you go to direct a show, how do you determine what parts of it you want to handle and what parts John's going to handle?
Yeah, well, what's actually become really nice with working with John so much is that we've gotten to really kind of fall into this groove, and it really allows us to really attack a play very similarly to how we attack life. Anyone that spends more than like 30 seconds with me and John will know that we're two very different people. But what's actually, and we've come to, this city and this place in life in 2 completely different ways. But what we've realized the similarity there is we share a lot of the same values, especially values around creating theater and creating community around theater. And so it's really great to know that you can enter into a room with a partner. We also talk about often, actors have their scene partners, and it isn't really until the audience comes in that the director gets their partner. And so it's really nice to be able to enter into a process with someone you trust. One of the things, this is a large cast. This is, you add the cast with a design team of 5, and then you have the production team. And so by being able to co-direct and work on something this size together, I think what that really then allows it to do is to create a community around the art. And not many people in New Orleans are working as full-time theater artists. And so when you're able to really kind of create a community around folks who are also going to teach the next day or going to these other jobs, I think it really just, by having two of us, I think it allows that process to flow a little bit more smoothly.
So I was there, I guess it was opening night on Friday, and John managed to get his mom and dad in, as if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Did you have anybody else with you as well?
My partner was with me that night. My family, I'm from Alexandria, Louisiana, and so my family they'll trickle down throughout the run to see some performances of it. But yeah, John's parents were in from right outside the DC area.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting that we take it for granted that people who are local here that our parents can come see or significant others can come see a show, but sometimes we're divided. Things are, parents live elsewhere, we live somewhere else, or maybe our significant other is in another city because they have to work and they come see us when they can, etc. So it's I guess the way that we all live our lives now. It's kind of crazy. But As You Like It, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we saw another production of As You Like It. It's one of the, I guess you might say, one of the real gems in the repertoire of Shakespeare, that we get to see it a lot because it is so well known and it is so beloved. It's among the ones that we see on a regular basis because of the fact that it does have a pretty strong plot, and it is very engaging. Question for you is you said it was a pretty big cast, but you actually have a lot of people doing multiple roles, and was that a conscious choice to keep the numbers down, or what was behind that reasoning?
Well, I think there were a couple of reasons. One, the logistics. We started out this process thinking that we were actually remounting Comedy of Errors from last season because, as you mentioned, it did get canceled in its run. And so quickly after we realized and we started to check in with the cast of who was available to come back and who wasn't, and it looked like we were not going to have a full cast back from Comedy of Errors, we started to pivot and look for some other scripts. And one of the things about As You Like It is, folks who are familiar with it know that the characters, for the big part, right, biggest plot piece of the show is that everyone escapes into the woods and they get to live this free life and take on these different identities in the forest. And so we thought we could also echo a lot of that in the casting. So for instance, the Duke, Frederick, who banishes his brother, Duke Senior, we have the same actor, Pam Roberts, playing both of those dukes, kind of also highlighting this idea of this dual personality, and that we're both, we both can be wholly evil and wholly free, and those that lives within all of us. And so some of it was logistics, and some of it was also wanting to kind of echo some of the themes that Shakespeare has around that duality and those dual identities that live within all of us.
So again, Rosalinda is a very, I would say, pivotal role, and very important. I'm going to ask our actor to come in, and I'm seeing that they're not exactly here yet. It looks to me like they're ready to come in, but if I add them right now, I hope that they're there, and that when we add them, that they will show up. So I'm just not seeing a face right now. So maybe the video's turned off, or maybe not. But I'm going to try. We're going to see what happens. Yeah, I was afraid the video's off. So I can definitely hear you. Can you try to turn your video on? And if not, let me ask you to I may have to just ask you to come right back in the room, and we'll invite you back in. Maybe it might just be that your browser's not cooperating with us. So
okay, yeah.
All right, yeah, because when you came in, I didn't see you, and I was just hoping that maybe you had your video off. But there's no way for me to tell this until I actually bring you in. So,
Yes.
so I'm talking to Kendra, and Kendra, if you don't mind, let me kick you again, and that way you can just come back in. Hopefully, it'll all sync up. Maybe it was just a problem with the browser. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So we're just going to continue all. I was trying to get her in when we start to talk about Rosalinda. Unfortunately, it's one of those things. So maybe she'll be right back in just a second. It should only take a few seconds for them to come in. And again, everybody, we appreciate your being patient. We're talking about As You Like It, the Shakespeare. I guess the best way to call it is a comedy. I mean, it really is. It's certainly not a tragedy. It's
not a tragedy. It's some people call it a romantic comedy.
It does have elements of a rom-com. Yeah, it really does.
It's a little rom-com-y. I hesitate to really even call it a comedy. It's more of really, it's a vibe. It's a feeling. It's this escape into this reality that's a lot different than what we feel in the court.
It does have elements a little bit, not perhaps as much, but of there she is. I can see her now. Of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Yes. There's our Rosalind.
Hi. Sorry about that. I don't know why that wasn't working, but
it just does that from time to time. And again, I want to thank you for being with us. So give me a little bit of background on you before they approached you to do this role, because the role does have certain aspects of being very feminine, but you also take on the part of the role that you have to be masculine as well, but still keep that feminine side somewhat. So tell me a little bit about why you're hiding your true identity, so to speak, hiding in the woods. So Kendra, tell me a little bit about how you approach that.
Absolutely. I feel like in my regular life, I also have just that little bit of feminine and masculine going on. And I think, back in the day, John and I were working together on Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which was canceled due to COVID, unfortunately. And then recently we just did a show, Redux, where I played just a number of characters, and one of them was a very highly masculine character. And so I guess that kind of just sparked in his mind that maybe I'd be able to do this. And as I've been doing the role, it does, it's kind of meshed and making sense. And even in the character work, like finding that, kind of natural masculine identity within like the feminine Rosalind, because to me, I think those two things, definitely very much work together and play off of each other in certain moments. And it's been fun, really exploring it, really pumping one up for a certain purpose and then, pumping the other up. And that interplay has been really, really exciting.
So I was at opening night, and there are a lot of aspects to it. First off, as a director, I noticed you used a lot of lighting on the floor, etc. Was that to give sort of an ethereal sense to Torrey, maybe, as to what was going on, or I'm just trying to get an idea about some of the thinking that went behind the creative process.
Yeah, well, we knew one of the things about this play, and I've seen it done well before.
Are you frozen?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, he is.
Oh,
we all are. Okay.
Oh no! What about now? Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you, Torrey. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Kendra.
Oh yeah, I can't hear Alan now. Okay.
Yeah, I think Alan's frozen. Hi, Kendra. It's good to see you.
Hi, Torrey. You too.
I don't.
Lighting.
How did the shows go over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday?
They went really well. Sunday we had a nice packed audience. They were laughing along, playing along with us. They've been really nice. I think they've been feeling it, the vibe. Just good.
You never know how a matinee audience is going to take it.
True, but I think they really dug it. I think they really did. It was definitely a crowd that skewed a little bit older, which I think is common for a matinee crowd, but they were definitely along for the ride. So.
Sorry about that. But I was out of the room for a little bit, but probably nobody noticed. But in any event, tell me again, in terms of your being with Shakespeare, you said you had done or were doing Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead, which of course is a modern a play, but it's a reference to.
Oh no!
Ooh, we lost him again.
Is this your first Shakespearean play, Kendra?
Yes, this is my first Shakespeare.
Wow.
And it's been very exciting, a challenge, but I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is a good one to start my Shakespeare journey off on.
Yeah. It's been pretty cool to see, when you learn Shakespeare in school, there's all, it's like your heartbeat and all of that, which I always felt like I was never smart enough to get.
There we go. Sorry about that. So answer my question now. I'm sorry about that. For some reason, I'm just losing my internet, and I can't tell why, but that's all right. So can you tell me again a little bit about what I just asked before I was ceremoniously dumped by the internet?
Yeah, so we were going to do Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead with me and Ali Miles, as I was Guildenstern, she was Rosencrantz, and it's a reference to Hamlet, and we had a whole, kind of virtual reality thing kind of going, and like the social cyber world, and then COVID kind of hit us just out of nowhere, and we kind of were thinking, oh, well, maybe we'll push it back.
So will we see this production maybe sometime in the future, or
no,
is it gone?
Yeah, it's gonna be gone. After kind of this second pushback, we decided that we would just kind of put that on hold, and then we ended up making a devised show with me, Ali, and John all working together on that over the next year and a half.
Yeah.
And that opened up this January, called Redux.
We talked about and I guess we can talk about again about that aspect of it too, but we talked a little bit about the cross gender casting that they had with the Dukes, etc. I know Monica Harris is playing different roles as well of what would normally be traditionally men, and just last night at the Tony Awards, the Miss, if you will, or cross-gendered company, was cited as best revival. We're seeing more and more of these reimaginings of what we might think of, in terms of traditional roles. I would imagine that it's opening up opportunities for actors to do what normally would not have been afforded to them. What they would only get to do, like on Broadway, they had the miscast, if you remember, where the males would take on the female roles, etc. But more and more of this is happening now, and I don't know if that's reflecting the diversity of the actors who maybe have they pronouns. I don't know, but they're doing aspects of their own personality, or perhaps just an opportunity to do theater from a different vantage, and having a female take on a male role and vice versa. What do you think about that?
I think it's great, and I've definitely been seeing that happen a lot more. And with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, that's typically a male role that I was excited to jump into, and this has a lot of that gender swap, and I think that's just great to open up the opportunity to perform theater to more people who may be experiencing am I more this or more that, or maybe they're right in between. And I think it's just amazing for people to have that opportunity. It's amazing for it to be represented at the Tonys as well, and more of it, more.
It's just something just something to add there. I think it's also when as a director, you want to think about those decisions and make sure you're not doing them just to do them, right? And you're really doing them as a vehicle to further the storytelling. But I think also what's also really important is, what happens when Monica Harris gets to play the wrestler, and there are little girls and little boys in the audience that see that, right? And so that it's both opportunities for actors and performers, but also how much more accessible can we make the world and the stories when we play a little bit with the way that it's been traditionally done, because traditionally so many people have been left out of what we consider to be the way to do it.
Well, and today, gender fluidity, as it were, is something that really we're all coming to grips with in terms of how to approach it, et cetera. But it would be, irresponsible of me not to mention the fact that in Shakespeare's time, all the female roles were done by males. So, maybe this is payback time. You never know.
One way, yeah.
So again, we're talking for those of you just joining us. We're talking about the New Orleans Shakespeare Festival. They have 3 shows, and again, I wanted to have an opportunity to show some of the things you just mentioned. The wrestling scene, and there you go. I just hope people will say that that Monica didn't lose the match because she really was a woman. There are very good. She does a very good job of acting out the wrestler. But again, that's a wonderful scene there, and I enjoyed it. I was right up in the right there where they were doing their thing. It's very nice too. I should mention the Dixon Annex that you've got the Lupin Theater. It's a very small but a very workable, very intimate workspace there that you all have. So there's not a bad seat in the house. And that particular production, I have to note, you get to see everything. There's nothing really blocking anything there. There we go. Now again, I should have my program in front of me, but tell me again, the young lady there who was also in, besides Kendra, who was in the Comedy of Errors.
That's Layla.
Layla.
Yes.
And she does a very good role too in terms of I know she's very expressive, and you can kind of get a feeling of that the way she's tackling the role. And you, on the other hand, are a little bit more sedate in the way you're dealing with it. She's a little bit more emotional. Again, she's been with the festival for a while now. It looks like a couple of years at least that she's been involved. Was she from Tulane or?
No, actually, Layla, last summer for Comedy of Errors, we had open auditions, and Layla submitted an audition, and she had some friends. She had visited New Orleans before, I believe, and came down and was in Comedy of Errors. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and funny enough, she's now moving to New Orleans.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, she's incredible to work with, but yeah, this is her second time on a New Orleans stage.
I have to, and again, the fact she's moving down here, I'm assuming she's not moving down here to do straight acting, that she has a day job that she's going to be doing like most people in town, right?
Yeah, well, she's also a dancer, and I think she does some some dance instruction.
Gotcha.
And I think she's definitely someone who sees herself as a full-time artist, and so
we have a couple more to show. Now this is again, you've got cross casting here in terms of what would normally be probably a male role on the right. I think she does 3 different roles.
Yes, she does do 3 roles by the end of the.
So I don't remember which one, but that would be Linda's love interest there.
Yeah, Orlando, Casey Sims.
And I saw Casey not long ago at UNO in a production that they did of The Seagull, I believe.
Yes, The Seagull, the adaptation. Stupid.
We don't want to call what it was.
Yeah,
the blanking bird.
Yeah,
the blanking bird. We're going to leave it at that because this is a family show. But yes, and again, I recognize it now. Do you have a lot of people, Torrey, that come in from other, like UNO, or was this just something that happened that it was open casting?
John had actually seen Casey in a couple of projects. He was also just in their Romeo and Juliet, and he submitted he was Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet, and he submitted that monologue. And so, yeah, we were really excited to work with Casey. Really Yeah, I think he graduated from UNO last year. Really, really energetic, great collaborator.
And he cuts quite a figure on stage. Now I got to ask one question. I've known Kevin Murphy for a long time. When did he become Lynx?
I don't know. I've always known him as Lynx, and I've known him 5-6 years now, so I'm not sure.
I've known him as Kevin, and I'm not I'm not being silly, but I knew it was Kevin for so long, and I looked at the cat. I said, is that a misprint? Where did that come from? But people go through name changes, etc. I can understand that, but when he first came, he went by Kevin. And matter of fact, when he played Shrek, he was Kevin, and so I've known him. A great actor. I mean, top notch. I would say one of the strongest figures you've got in the cast in terms of his interpretation. I just really love anytime I see him on stage, and in a way, he's playing with the characters, but I almost feel like sometimes he's playing off to the side, if you will. That he's doing the character even more so by really living it and breathing it. So again, anybody who hasn't seen it yet, I really strongly urge you to check that out. And then the last, there's Monica, and again you've got a couple of the other folks. That's
Matthew Rates, and
Matthew Rates was one of the two roles in Comedy of Errors last time, right?
Yes,
one of the
Romeos.
And the other lady is also a dancer, correct?
Frenchie Faith, she works with the intramurals. She is an aerialist.
Aerialist. Okay.
An aerialist. She's a mover. She's a clown. She is so much fun to work with.
Yes. And again, Shakespeare does not have to be something dry, and you all have given a certain new look to it, and obviously I'm glad that you all are not using the South Beach look again, but I think that was really quite novel, and I was really happy to see you do that last year, even though not a lot of people got to see it. But it's an inventive kind of approach to doing theater and making it more I guess resonate more for today, and make people feel like what you're doing is responsive to what they're looking for in terms of theater, in terms of something new, something inventive, etc. I do appreciate that. Kendra, just before you go, tell me what you think we should take away from your interpretation of Rosalind, so that people will kind of maybe get a feel for what you're trying to do with the role.
Sure. I think she kind of goes through a bit of an awakening, and they're going towards freedom. And I think she definitely is experiencing finally getting to be herself for once, finally getting to just play by her own rules and play how she wants to play and love how she wants to love. And, there kind of is, a tightness and just, that kind of feeling of loss and displacement when she's at court. Whereas, there is a blossoming, kind of an unfurling of the wings, so to speak. Even with the change of gender, I think there is still something that she's discovering about herself through this other sort of play. And I guess I just want folks to take away that, life is an exploration, love is an exploration. So, hop on the journey.
At the end, she's in control, fully in control.
Exactly.
And again, it's not often you see a powerful woman in Shakespeare, because she does not represent, much of what was going on in that time. Women, took a subservient role, with the exception perhaps of the Queen. So, to see a powerful woman moving all the strings of the marionettes, as it were,
Exactly.
is really kind of cool. So, Torrey, again, I'm going to say break legs. I hope that you and Kendra have a great run, as well as all the entire cast. I appreciate you all being with us tonight. It's so important for me to let people know about different productions. I don't have anything lined up for next week yet, but hopefully somebody will let me know about something that's going on. There are several shows that are opening up this week, including the brand new Fat Squirrel group that's going to be having Festival, the one-act plays, and we'll be having Choir Boy opening up at Le Petit. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. I am so happy to see theater back. And of course, let's not forget the Cuck opens on Wednesday. We talked about them with Intramural Theater. And As You Like It will be at the New Orleans Shakespeare Festival at Tulane. Thank you all for being with us. And again, I'm going to let everybody know that this has been NOLA Theater Talk. And my name is Alan Smason. Again, thank you for being with us. And I'm going to ask you guys to stick around. And we'll be right back. For you guys, I'm going to say goodnight to you privately. But again, for everybody else, I'll see you at the theater.